When my stepmom told me I wasn't allowed to come back to her house after my graduation, she said it loud enough for every single person in that parking lot to hear. She wanted to humiliate me. She wanted me to fall apart right there in my cap and gown. But I didn't. I just looked at her, looked at all the people turning their heads toward us, and I held back a smile. Because in that moment, I knew something she didn't. The house she was so proud of. The house she called my home. The house she used to threaten me with for years. That house already had my name on the deed, and I was about to flip her entire world upside down. But if you really want to understand how we ended up there, her voice raised, my diploma in my hand, everyone watching, you have to start way before the parking lot, before the cap, before the gown, before the revenge. You have to start with the house. I grew up in a small, old 2-story house on a quiet street. It wasn't fancy. The porch leaned a little. The floorboards complained with every step. The wallpaper in the hallway peeled at one corner, no matter how many times we pressed it back down. And somehow the kitchen window always looked a little dirty, even right after we cleaned it. But to me, it was perfect. It was home. It was my mom's favorite place in the world. She used to sit on the front steps in the evenings with a chipped mug of tea and say, "This house has good bones, Lexi. It's not perfect, but it's ours. And one day, it'll be yours." Back then, I didn't really get it. I was just a kid. I cared more about my bike, about racing my friends down the street, about cartoons and homework and sleepovers. I didn't care about words like equity or deed or ownership. I just knew that when I walked through that front door, I felt safe. Then my mom got sick, and safe stopped feeling like something I could count on. I won't drag you through every hospital visit and each late-night whisper. It was long. It was ugly. There were IV bags and half-eaten cafeteria food and the smell of disinfectant that clung to my clothes. There were quiet arguments behind the closed kitchen door when they thought I was asleep. Words like insurance, coverage, treatment options. But even while her body got weaker, every time Mom came home, she'd touch the banister or the doorway or the edge of the kitchen counter, like she was checking to make sure the house was still there. Like it was a promise she'd made to me, and she was double-checking it hadn't been broken. One night, about a month before she died, she called me into her room. The lights were low. Her skin looked too pale against the pillow, and her body seemed smaller, swallowed by the blankets. "Come here, baby," she said. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to keep my face from showing how scared I was. I was maybe 12, old enough to know something was really wrong, too young to deal with it. She reached for my hand. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was still strong. "Do you remember what I always say about this house?" she asked. "That it has good bones," I said, forcing a smile. She smiled too, but her eyes were serious. "And that one day it'll be yours," she added. "Lexi, I need you to really hear me now. This house is for you. No matter what happens to me, you're going to grow up here. You're going to feel safe here. Promise me you won't let anyone take it from you." I nodded, even though I didn't really understand what that meant. "I promise, Mom." She squeezed my hand. "Good. Your grandparents helped set things up. When you're older, it'll all make sense. Just remember what I'm saying, okay? This is your home." She died not long after that. The house didn't feel like home for a while. The air felt wrong. Too still. Too quiet. My dad would try to cook breakfast and always burn something. He tried to hold on to little routines she had made, like Friday night spaghetti or Sunday morning pancakes, but grief sat between us like a third person in every room. He changed after she was gone, not overnight. Little by little, like watching the seasons shift. He worked later. He came home tired and distracted. Then suddenly, he wasn't home as much on weekends. He started going out with friends, but if I asked who, he just said, "People from work, don't worry about it." I'd wake up to the smell of cologne in the hallway instead of coffee in the kitchen. And then, one day, I met her, my future stepmother. Her name was Melissa. I remember the first time she walked into our house. I was at the dining table doing homework when my dad called from the front door, "Lexi, come say hi." I walked into the living room, and there she was, standing on the same worn rug my mom had picked out years before. Tall, slim, perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect white teeth smile. She held a bottle of wine in one hand and a bouquet of flowers in the other, like she'd practiced the pose in a mirror. "You must be Lexi," she said in this sweet, syrupy voice that made my skin crawl even then, before I knew why. I've heard so much about you." I just nodded. She looked around the living room, her eyes scanning every framed picture and piece of furniture. For a second, I saw her nose wrinkle, like something smelled off. Then the fake smile snapped back into place. "It's cozy," she said. Cozy. That was the polite word people used when they meant small, old, outdated. My dad didn't notice. Or if he did, he ignored it. He wrapped his arm around her and said, "Yeah, well, we make it work." Over the next few weeks, more of her started showing up. New throw pillows, new candles, new curtains she just happened to have on sale. At first, I thought she was just trying to help. Then things started disappearing. Little things at first. The chipped mug my mom always used for tea. The frayed blue blanket she would wrap herself in on movie nights. The photo of Mom and me at the fair, both of us with cotton candy in our hands, smiling so hard our eyes were half closed. I didn't see it on the shelf one day. I found it later, in the trash under some junk mail and an empty cereal box. When I showed my dad, he sighed and rubbed his forehead. "Melissa's just trying to freshen the place up, kiddo. Don't make everything into a fight." But it wasn't just freshening up. It felt like someone was carefully erasing my mom from her own house, one memory at a time. The night Dad told me they were getting married, he said it in the kitchen. "Lexi," he said, standing next to Melissa like they were presenting a united front, "we have some good news." I just stared at him, then at her. "We're getting married," he went on. "Isn't that great? We can finally be a proper family again." Melissa tilted her head, smiling like she was in a shampoo commercial. "I really hope we can be close," she said. "I don't want to replace your mom, of course, but I'd like to be here for you." I wanted to scream. You already replaced her. You're already throwing pieces of her away. But I didn't. I just walked out of the room. The first real warning sign of who Melissa really was came a few months after they got married. It started with comments. "Is that what you're wearing to school? Your room is always a disaster. Your grades are slipping. Maybe you're too distracted by whatever you're doing online. If you lived in someone else's house, they'd have way stricter rules than this." She loved saying that. Someone else's house. Like we were in some stranger's guest room instead of the home my mom had poured her life into. Every time she said it, something twisted in my chest. In my mind, it was still my mom's house. My grandparents' money had gone into it. My mom's time and sweat and love were in every nail and scuff mark. But Melissa walked around like she was the queen of it. I told myself it would settle once the honeymoon phase was over. Once she relaxed. Once she felt more secure. It didn't. It got worse. She started going through my things when I wasn't home. I'd open my drawers and everything would be wrong. Too neat, moved, rearranged. Journals slightly out of place, letters opened, receipts gone. When I confronted her in the hallway one day, she didn't even bother pretending. "I live here too," she said. "I have a right to know what's happening under my roof." Her roof. Those two words made my fists clench. By the time I was a junior in high school, life in that house was a constant tightrope. She'd leave little sticky notes on the fridge. "Please stop taking 45-minute showers. We're not made of money. Next time you finish something, add it to the shopping list. Do I look like a mind reader? Dishes in the sink equals no Wi-Fi." She'd complain loudly about the electric bill if I left a light on too long. She'd sigh dramatically if I opened the fridge and stared for more than 5 seconds. But it wasn't really about money. It was about control. She wanted to know where I was every second, who I was with, what time I'd be home. If I didn't answer a text fast enough, she'd call. If I didn't pick up, she'd blow up my phone with messages. And every time we argued, about curfew, about clothes, about me wanting to hang out with friends instead of cleaning baseboards, she'd pull out the same threat. "You're lucky I even let you stay in this house." She said it casually, like she was talking about letting someone borrow her sweater. One night, after a particularly ugly argument about me wanting to apply to colleges out of state, she cornered me in the hallway. I can still see the overhead light buzzing faintly, smell the lemon cleaner she'd used on the floors. "You really think you're just gonna run off and live some fancy dorm life?" she hissed, her voice low so my dad, half asleep in front of the TV, couldn't hear. "You think you're just going to leave me with all the bills and responsibilities while you play college girl?" "Mom would have wanted me to go," I shot back. "To get out, to move forward." Her eyes flashed when I said, "Mom." For a second, I honestly thought she might slap me. Instead, she leaned in so close I could feel her breath on my face. "Your mom isn't here," she said, each word sharp. "I am, and this is my house now, so you will do what I say as long as you're under my roof. Got it?" I didn't say anything. She smiled then, a thin, cold little curve of her lips. "Good, because if you don't like it, Lexi, there's the door. Once you graduate, I am not required to keep you here. You turn 18, you're an adult. You can figure your own life out." The words sank into me like ice. As much as I wanted to leave, as much as I hated how she made me feel small in my own home, the truth was simple. I had nowhere else to go. Or at least, I thought I didn't. The year I turned 18, everything changed. Not the way I expected. Not with some big blow-up fight where I finally screamed everything I'd been holding back. It started with my dad getting sick. He'd been complaining about feeling tired and having stomach pains. He brushed it off every time I suggested a doctor. "I'm fine, sweetheart," he'd say. "Just getting older." He wasn't that old. Then one night, I woke up to the sound of Melissa screaming downstairs. I ran to the kitchen and saw my dad on the floor, curled in on himself, gasping. Melissa was on the phone with 911, her voice high and panicked in a way I'd never heard before. The ambulance ride was a blur. Bright lights, cold air, the beeping of machines starting up as they rolled him into the ER. Tests, monitors, doctors with serious faces. It was bad. I saw something in those hospital weeks that I'd never seen before from Melissa. Real fear. Not the angry, controlling kind. The desperate kind. She'd sit in the corner scrolling on her phone, muttering under her breath about copays and deductibles and what this is going to do to us. One night, I walked past the doorway and heard her arguing on the phone. "No, we can't just sell it," she hissed. "Where would we go? No, I don't care how much the medical stuff costs. I am not moving into some tiny apartment after everything I've put into this place. The house is finally almost how I like it." That word again. Sell. Sell what? Sell the house? My heart started pounding so hard it hurt. The idea of someone else living in my mom's kitchen, painting over her notes on the wall, ripping out the front garden she used to baby every spring. It made my stomach twist. When Dad finally came home, he was weaker. The strong, joking man I'd grown up with was replaced by someone older, slower, with shadows under his eyes. He started saying things like, "If something happens to me, and when I'm not around, and you're a tough girl, Lex, you'll make it." I tried to shut those conversations down every time. "Don't talk like that," I'd say, or I'd change the subject, but he kept trying. One night, he called me into his room. "Close the door," he said. I did. He was propped up on pillows, a worn-looking folder on his lap. I recognized it. I'd seen it years ago shoved into the back of his closet behind old coats and shoeboxes. He tapped the folder. "This is for you." I sat on the edge of the bed, just like I had with Mom that night when she told me to protect the house. He took a deep breath. "I should have done this a long time ago," he said. "Your mom wanted me to, but I kept putting it off. I thought I'd have more time." My throat tightened. "Dad." He opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers covered in tiny print. "I need you to listen, Lexi," he said. "Really listen." There was something in his voice that made me sit a little straighter. He pointed at the top page. I saw my grandparents' names, my mom's name, legal words that blurred together. Then on another page, I saw mine. "This house," he said quietly, "was never really mine." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Your grandparents bought it," he explained. "They helped us when you were a baby. Your mom, she didn't trust me with money back then." He gave a small, sad laugh, probably for good reason, so they put it in a trust, with rules, paperwork, legal junk. The big point is this. When you turned 18, this house stopped being something we were just living in and became legally yours, completely. I stared at him. It felt like the words were bouncing off my brain, not sinking in. "What do you mean, mine?" I repeated. "I mean," he said slowly, "the deed, the title, all of it. It's in your name now. Your mother made sure of it with your grandparents before she got too sick. I was supposed to tell you on your 18th birthday, but then I got busy with doctors and tests and everything." His voice cracked. "I'm telling you now." I swallowed hard. "Does Melissa know?" He held my gaze for a long moment. "No," he said. And I don't want her to. Not yet. Why not? His jaw clenched. Because I've watched the way she talks to you. The way she holds this house over your head like it's a prize you haven't earned. I let too much slide. I thought if I kept the peace, it would be better for you. I was wrong. He looked so tired when he said that. So guilty. This is me trying to fix at least one thing before I can't anymore. Tears stung my eyes. So what do I do with this? I whispered, looking down at the papers. Keep them safe, he said. Memorize the lawyer's name. He tapped a business card paper-clipped inside. If anything happens to me, you call him. He'll help. Just remember, this is your house. It was always meant to be yours. Don't let anyone tell you different. I nodded, my vision blurry. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked. He looked away. Because part of me was scared, he admitted. Scared you'd hate me for not standing up to her earlier. Scared she'd turn on you worse if she knew. Scared you'd pack a bag and leave as soon as you turned 18. I let out a shaky laugh. Where would I go? He smiled sadly. You would have figured something out. You're smarter than you think. He squeezed my hand. I'm sorry for a lot of things, Lexi, but this, your mom and I got right. Hold on to that. I didn't fully understand how right he was until he was gone. Not long after that conversation, he got worse fast. The hospital stays got longer. The talks about if something happens turned into when I'm gone. The last time I saw him awake, he grabbed my wrist, his fingers weaker but still insistent. Remember the house, he whispered. Don't let her push you out. I won't, I whispered back, even though my voice cracked and I didn't know how I was supposed to live in a world without him. He died 2 days later. The funeral was a haze of black clothes, murmured condolences, and people hugging me too tightly. Melissa cried louder than anyone, huge sobs, shaking shoulders, hands pressed dramatically over her mouth. She cried hardest when people were looking. When they turned away, the tears dried up quick. After the funeral, reality came back like a slap. She didn't even wait a week. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a bowl of cereal going soggy in front of me, when she walked in, dropped a stack of envelopes onto the table, and said, "We need to talk about bills." I looked up at her, numb. What? Bills, she repeated slowly, like I was a little kid. Mortgage, utilities, groceries. Your father was not exactly smart with money. We're not in a great spot. I stared at the envelopes, then back at her. There is no mortgage, I said slowly. My grandparents helped Mom pay off the house. Dad said... She let out a sharp laugh. Oh, please. What, you think you understand how any of this works because you heard a few grown-up words? You're a child, Lexi. You have no idea. I'm 18, I said quietly. She rolled her eyes. Legally, sure, but you don't contribute. You don't pay the bills. You don't keep the lights on. You don't even have a real job. I have a part-time job, I said, feeling my cheeks heat. And I'm going to college in the fall. Her eyes narrowed. Yeah, about that. She pulled out one envelope and slid it toward me. It had the university's name on it. My heart lifted for a second, then dropped as soon as I opened it. It wasn't a congratulations letter. It was a bill, a big one. This is what we're looking at, she said, crossing her arms. Tuition, housing, food, books. Your little scholarship and aid packet don't magically cover everything. And I definitely don't have thousands lying around to fund your little fantasy. My head spun. Dad said there was money. He said he saved... Your dad said a lot of things. She snapped, her voice turning cold. None of which changed the fact that right now he's gone, and I'm the one stuck dealing with this house and these bills and all his mess. My mess. That's what she made it sound like. I got into that school, I said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. I worked hard. And what? I'm just supposed to break my back so you can run off and play college girl while I'm stuck here alone paying for everything? She cut in. I didn't sign up to be your sponsor, Lexi. I married your father, not his debts and not his unfinished business. The way she said unfinished business made my skin crawl. So what are you saying? I asked. I'm saying, she replied, leaning closer, that once you graduate, you have choices to make. You either stay here, get a full-time job and help with bills, or you figure something else out on your own. Roommates, shelters, whatever. Because I am not going to break myself to support a grown woman chasing a dream while I drown. I stared at her. And just so we're clear, she added sweetly, this is my house now. I've put years into it, my time, my money. If I have to, I will sell it to get ahead. I will not let your dad's terrible planning drag me down. There it was again. Sell. Only this time, something was different. Because this time, I remembered the folder in my room. The papers. My dad's tired voice. This house is in your name now. A strange, cold calm spread through me. She thought she held all the power. She thought she could toss me out like trash, sell the place, and start her life over. She had no idea that on paper, in the county records, and in the eyes of the law, everything she thought was hers was actually mine. I didn't say a word. I picked up the bowl, dumped the cereal into the sink, rinsed it out, and walked away. That night, after she went to bed, I went into my dad's room and pulled the folder from the bottom drawer. I locked my own door, sat cross-legged on my bed, and started reading. Line by line, paragraph by paragraph. Even when my eyes blurred and the legal terms made my head hurt, I forced myself to keep going. I Googled words on my phone. I scribbled notes in the margins. It was all there. The trust, the conditions, the transfer date, my 18th birthday. The house was mine. My grandparents and my mom had planned it. My dad had gone along with it. The lawyer's name was there, just like he'd said. And on one of the last pages, printed in black ink, was my full name beside the property address. I took a breath that shook my whole body and grabbed my phone. The lawyer answered after a couple of rings, his voice cautious. Hello? Hi, this is Lexi, I said. Lexi Carter. My dad was James Carter. There was a pause. Then his tone softened. Yes, Lexi. I'm very sorry about your father. I know this must be a hard time. Thank you, I whispered. I'm sorry to bother you, but I have a question. About the house. Of course, he said. What would you like to know? These papers, I said, picking one up with a trembling hand. They say the house is mine now. Is that, actually true? Or is that just some technical thing I'm not getting? He chuckled gently. It's not just a technicality, Lexi. Your grandparents and your mother were extremely clear about what they wanted. Yes, the house is yours. It has been held in trust for you for years. When you turned 18, it transferred fully into your name. I've already filed everything with the county. So, Melissa... My voice shook just saying her name. My stepmom, does she own any of it? No, he said plainly. She does not legally. She's been living there as your father's spouse, but the property itself was never his to will to her. He and I discussed that when the trust was created. But she thinks, I know, he said, a hint of steel entering his tone. Your father mentioned that. He regretted not telling you sooner. He wanted you to have something no one could take away. Lexi, that house is yours. If anyone tells you otherwise, they are either mistaken or trying to intimidate you. I swallowed. Can she sell it? I asked. Can she kick me out? He actually laughed softly. No, she cannot sell what she doesn't own. And as for kicking you out, your name is on the deed, not hers. You have the right to live there. Legally speaking, she is the guest. I sat there, clutching the phone, letting those words sink in. For years, she'd made me feel like every mistake, every bad grade, every disagreement could end with me out on the street. She'd weaponized the idea of home, and it had never, ever been hers to control. Okay, I said finally. Thank you. Lexi, he added gently, you're not alone in this. If she gives you trouble, call me. Your mother planned for that too. I hung up and sat there in the dark, stunned. I wasn't powerless. For the first time in years, I had something she didn't. Leverage. But having power and choosing how to use it are two different things. The next few weeks felt like playing a very quiet, very intense game of chess. On the surface, nothing changed. I still went to school, I still went to my part-time job. I still came home, did my homework at the same old table, listened to Melissa complain about the dishwasher or the neighbors or how expensive everything was now that I'm doing this on my own. But inside, everything was different. Every time she said under my roof or my house, I felt a tiny flicker of something almost like satisfaction. Go ahead, say it again, one more time. Every time she brought up downsizing or maybe selling and starting fresh somewhere nicer. I didn't feel that familiar panic anymore. You can't sell what you don't own. I went back to the lawyer's office and he walked me through the last of the paperwork. He talked about property taxes and insurance and boring adult stuff I suddenly had to care about. He also clarified my rights. Technically, he said, you could ask her to move out immediately. I thought about it. I pictured walking in the front door, dropping my bag, looking her in the eye, and calmly telling her she had 30 days to get out. But after everything she'd done, every threat, every cutting remark, every "you're lucky I let you stay here," that felt too quiet. She'd chipped away at my sense of safety for years. I wanted her to feel, just once, what it was like to have the ground yanked out from under her feet, and I knew exactly when to do it. Graduation. Ever since my senior year started, Melissa had been obsessed with it. Not with me, not with my future, no. With how it would look. The photos, the posts, the captions about my strong girl, and I'm so proud of the young woman I raised. She bought a new dress months in advance. She talked about poses, angles, lighting. She kept calling it our big day. Not mine, ours. She'd brag to her friends, I practically raised her. All those late nights, the attitude, the drama. This diploma is my prize too. Every time she said practically raised her, I had to bite back about 10 different replies. So when she started planning a small celebration at the house afterward, her house, her words, her event, I felt something settle into place inside me. Of course she wanted to show off her home. Of course she wanted people to ooh and ah over the renovation choices and the decor she'd picked out while standing on top of my mother's erased memory. And that was when I knew. That was when I was going to tell her. Not in the kitchen, not alone, not in another screaming match she could later twist into Lexi overreacted. No. She would hear the truth where she'd chosen to perform her power, in front of other people. I started planning. I asked the lawyer to make sure all of the house documents were updated, filed, and official before graduation. Then I reached out to the people who mattered. My best friend Mia, who'd seen me break down in her car more than once after a fight with Melissa. My mom's parents, my grandparents, who had drifted away from my dad years ago but still sent birthday cards and little gifts addressed only to me. My Aunt Linda, my mom's sister, who knew about the trust but had stayed at a safe distance, hoping my dad would do the right thing on his own. I told them everything. About the threats, about my house, about almost being thrown out as soon as I finished high school, about the truth of the deed. My grandparents cried. Aunt Linda's eyes flashed with a rage I'd never seen from her. You should have called me, she said, pulling me into a hug so tight it hurt. Lexi, I would have come for you. I would never have let her do that to you. It's okay, I whispered into her shoulder. It's almost over. The morning of graduation, I woke up before my alarm. The house was quiet, no pans clattering, no yelling about me running late, just soft light sneaking past the blinds and the distant sound of a neighbor's lawnmower starting up. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling my heart beating hard against my ribs. This was it. The last day she'd get to look me in the eyes and say, my house, like I was just visiting. The last day she'd get to act like shelter was a privilege she handed out on a whim. I got up and dressed slowly. Pressed white blouse, dark pants, shoes that wouldn't trip on stage. The maroon gown hanging on the back of my door like the entrance to a new life I wasn't sure I deserved yet. As I was adjusting my hair in the mirror, there was a knock. Come in, I said. Melissa walked in, fully ready for a photo shoot. New dress, high heels, hair carefully curled, enough perfume to fill the doorway. She looked me up and down and nodded. You look decent, she said. Don't slouch on stage, it'll ruin the pictures. Okay, I said. She stepped farther into the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood. I know things haven't always been easy between us, she started, her tone soft and gentle, the one she used when other people were within hearing distance. But this is a big day, for both of us. Both of us, I repeated. She smiled. I've been here for years, Lexi. I've put a lot into this house, into you. I could have walked away so many times, but I didn't. I stayed. I sacrificed. I almost bit through my tongue trying not to say what I wanted to say. Thank you, I managed. She seemed pleased with that. Good. Now hurry up. I want good seats. I am not sitting in the back after everything I've done. At the ceremony, everything moved in blurry slow motion. The gym was crowded and overheated. People waved handmade signs. Parents cried. Teachers pretended they weren't emotional at all. The principal gave a long speech about journeys and doors opening and the future is yours. When they finally started calling names, my heart hammered. Our last name starts with C, so I didn't have to wait too long. Alexis Carter. I stood up. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. Walking across that stage felt unreal. The lights were too bright, the cheering too loud. For a second, I imagined my mom in one of the folding chairs, clapping and crying at the same time. I imagined my dad whistling, shouting, "That's my girl!" But when I looked out, I saw Melissa. Perfect posture, phone in hand, recording like she owned the moment too. I shook hands, took the diploma cover, smiled for the camera, and then it was over. Caps flew in the air. People hugged and screamed and took a trillion photos in 30 seconds. Out in the parking lot, everything was chaos. Cars honking, kids crying, parents trying to organize group pictures. I finally spotted Melissa. She was standing by her car, waving her arms like she was directing traffic. Her two closest friends, Denise and Sandra, beside her in their summer dresses and wedge sandals. Denise saw me first. "There she is!" she shouted. "Our graduate!" I walked over, the diploma cover tucked under my arm. "Smile," Melissa said, grabbing my shoulder and yanking me between her and her friends. "Let's get a picture with my girl." I forced a smile while they snapped photos. "This must feel amazing," Denise said. "You must be so proud, Melissa." "Oh, I am," Melissa gushed. "You have no idea. After everything we've been through in this house, today really feels like a new chapter." Sandra leaned in. "So what's the plan now, Miss College Girl?" she teased. "Dorm life? Parties? Late-night study sessions?" Melissa laughed, that sharp little sound she did when she was about to say something pointed. "Oh no," she said. "Things are going to be very different after today." She turned fully toward me. I felt the air shift. Her smile stayed, but her eyes went flat and hard. "This is actually a perfect time to tell you," she said, projecting her voice just enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I've been waiting for the right moment." I knew instantly that this was the dramatic scene she'd been building toward in her head. She wanted witnesses. I kept my voice neutral. "Tell me what?" She adjusted her dress like she was on stage. "Graduation is a big milestone," she began. "You're officially an adult now, and adults take care of themselves." A couple of kids from my class, walking past with their families, slowed down. Someone's grandma pretended to be busy on her phone, but didn't move. "So," Melissa continued, "I've decided that after today, things are going to change. You're not coming back to the house with me." The sounds of the parking lot, the honking, the laughing, the chatter, faded into a dull hum. "What?" I asked. She smiled wider like she was delivering good news. "I think it's time you learn what it's like to stand on your own 2 feet," she said. "You can't live off me forever, Lexi. You've had a free ride long enough." More heads turned. I saw Mia out of the corner of my eye, standing a few cars away with her mom. I saw my grandparents and Aunt Linda by their car, watching with tight faces. "I've talked to a few people," Melissa went on. "There are shelters, there are roommate situations. There's always something for a young woman your age. You'll figure it out. This is tough love, sweetheart. One day you'll thank me." I just stared at her. She was really doing it. Publicly. On my graduation day. In front of her friends, my classmates, and half the school. She wanted me to crumble. She wanted me to beg, to cry, to prove how ungrateful and entitled I was when she said no. I let the silence stretch for a few seconds. Then I repeated slowly, "I'm not coming back to the house with you?" "That's right," she said. "You can't stay in my house anymore. It's time for you to be an adult." Her words hung in the hot air. That was it. The last time she was ever going to call it her house in front of me without hearing the truth. I took a breath. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't fall apart. I nodded slowly and said, clear enough for the people standing around us to hear, "You're right about one thing. Things are going to be very different after today." Her smile flickered. She hadn't expected that. "Good," she said tightly. "Then we're on the same page." "Not exactly," I replied. Before she could respond, I lifted my hand and motioned for my grandparents and Aunt Linda to come over. They walked toward us with a kind of quiet determination. "Lexi," my grandma said, pulling me into a hug. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart." "Thanks, Grandma," I murmured, hugging her back. Melissa's expression soured when she saw them. She hadn't known they were coming. She hadn't invited them. In her mind, they were from the old life she'd spent years trying to repaint. "What are they doing here?" she demanded. "They came to see me graduate," I said calmly. "And they wanted to be here for this part too." She frowned. "This part?" I reached into the inside pocket of my gown and pulled out a folded stack of papers. They weren't the originals. Those were locked up safe. These were official copies. "What's that?" she asked, eyes narrowing. I unfolded them slowly. "This," I said, "is what Mom and my grandparents left me. This is the deed to the house, the one you keep calling yours." For a second, her brain didn't seem to process the words. Then she looked down. Her eyes scanned the top page, the address, the legal language, my name. She actually laughed. "This is some kind of joke," she said. "Where did you get that? Did you make it on your little computer?" "From the lawyer," I said evenly. "The one who handled everything when Mom and Dad set up the trust. The one who made sure the house would transfer to me when I turned 18. Which, by the way, I did, months ago." Her smile was completely gone now. "What are you talking about?" she snapped. "This is my house. James told me he couldn't leave it to you." I cut in, my voice still steady. "It was never his to give. It was in a trust. For me. Mom and my grandparents set it up before she got sick." I gestured toward my grandparents. My grandfather stepped forward, his hands steady even though I could see a small tremor. "We helped buy that house," he said. "We insisted it be in our daughter's and granddaughter's name. We didn't want any confusion later." Melissa's face drained of color. She looked at them, at me, at the papers, at her friends who were now staring at her like they'd just realized they didn't know her at all. "This is ridiculous," she spat. "You're all attacking me on her graduation day? Really? After everything I've done? You expect me to believe that after all these years of me paying bills and fixing that place up, it's not mine?" "You paid bills as part of living there with my dad," I said. "But you never owned it. You never bothered to ask. You just assumed. And I let you. For a long time." Her eyes snapped to mine. "You let me? You're a child. You don't own anything." "Actually," I said quietly, "I own the house. The county says so. The deed says so. The lawyer says so. And, the law says so." I checked. A small crowd had gathered by then. People pretended to busy themselves with bags and keys, but no one walked away. Melissa's breathing got shallow. Her hands shook as she snatched the papers from me and flipped through them. I don't understand," she muttered. "Why didn't James tell me? Why would he let me? Why would he let me think?" She trailed off. Because the truth was simple, and it was hitting her. She knew how she'd treated me. She knew the threats she'd made. She knew how many times she'd said, "You're lucky I'm letting you stay." She knew exactly why my dad hadn't trusted her with this. She looked back up at me, eyes flashing. "So what?" she demanded. "You're going to throw me out? After everything I've done for this family? You're going to kick me out of my home and leave me with nothing? Is that what this is? Your big revenge?" I met her gaze. "No," I said. She blinked, confusion cutting through her anger. "No?" she repeated. "I'm not going to do to you what you were about to do to me," I said. "I'm not going to stand here on one of the biggest days of your life and tell you you're about to be homeless." Some of the tension around us eased. A couple of people nodded slightly. "But," I went on, "things are going to change." Her shoulders tensed again. "From today on," I said, "we're done pretending. No more my house every time you're mad. No more threats about throwing me out. This is my home, always has been. You've been living there because Mom made sure I'd always have a place, not so you could wave it in my face." She opened her mouth, but I didn't let her cut me off this time. "I'm giving you time," I said. 60 days. That's more than you offered me, by the way. 60 days to figure out your next move. Find an apartment. Move in with a friend. Do whatever you need to do. After that, I want my house back." Her jaw fell open. "You can't do that." "Yes," another voice said behind me. "She can." We both turned. The lawyer was standing there, a folder in his hand, his expression calm. He'd come at my grandparents' request just in case. "I wanted to be here in case there were any misunderstandings," he said politely. He turned to Melissa. Legally speaking, Ms. Davis, you have no ownership stake in the property. As Alexis's stepmother, you were residing there as her father's spouse. Now that he has passed and the property has fully transferred to Alexis, your continued residence is at her discretion." "This is insane," she hissed. "I made that house livable. I fixed it up. I put in sweat and money. And you're telling me I have no claim?" "No one is denying you invested time and effort while you lived there," he said evenly. "But that does not change the legal title. Alexis is being generous in granting you 60 days. Legally, she isn't required to give you that much." Her eyes filled with tears, but I recognized those tears. They were the same kind she used when she wanted something, when she wanted to be the victim. "You're all monsters," she choked out. "You're doing this to me here, in public, on her graduation day, after I've done nothing but love and support this girl?" "Love?" Aunt Linda snapped, stepping forward, her voice trembling with anger. "Is that what you call threatening to throw her out? Going through her things? Tossing her mother's belongings in the trash? Making her feel like a guest in her own home?" "Linda," my grandfather murmured, placing a calming hand on her arm. "This isn't the time." But the words were out, and people had heard. Melissa's eyes darted around at the faces watching. The parents, the teachers, her friends, my friends. She could see it in their eyes. No one was rushing to comfort her. No one was stepping in to defend her. She tried one last angle. "Lexi," she said, dropping her voice and trying to sound soft again. She reached for my arm. "We don't have to do this here. You're upset, you're grieving, you're making rash decisions. Your dad would never have wanted this." I stepped out of her reach. "Maybe not," I said quietly. "But Mom did. She set this up before she died. She wanted me to always have a home. You spent years making me feel like I didn't, like I was one argument away from being on the street. That's not—" "I'm done letting you rewrite what happened," I said. "You don't get to decide who belongs in that house anymore. You never did." She stared at me, breathing hard, chest heaving. For the first time since she'd moved into our lives, she was the one with nowhere to put her anger, nowhere to direct it without making herself look worse. She looked around, at the stares, the murmurs, the phones quietly recording, the kids clutching their programs tighter. She realized what I had known all along. She'd picked the stage. She just hadn't picked the script. She shoved the papers back into my hands so hard they bent. "We'll see about this," she spat, spinning on her heel. "Don't think this is over." She climbed into her car, slammed the door, and pulled out of the lot without looking back. I stood there, the papers in my hand, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. It was over. Not every detail. Not yet. There were still 60 days. There would be more slammed doors, cold shoulders, muttered insults. But the power had shifted. Everyone had seen it. The rest of that day felt lighter. I took pictures with Mia, with my grandparents, with Aunt Linda. We laughed, real relieved laughter. We drove back to the house, not for the fancy party Melissa had planned, but for a simple dinner my grandma made with the food she'd brought. Walking through the front door felt different, like I was breathing easier for the first time in years. We ate at the same table my mom used to sit at. We told stories about her and about my dad. We cried a little. We smiled a lot. At one point, my grandma reached for my hand. "She would be so proud of you," she said. I swallowed. I hope so. "She would," Aunt Linda said firmly. "Not just for graduating, for finally standing up for yourself, for not letting someone push you out of what was always meant to be yours." That night, the house was quiet again. Melissa didn't come back. I half expected her to barrel through the door screaming about lawyers and rights and how I'd embarrassed her. She didn't. The next morning, I woke up to an empty driveway. Her car was gone. She came and went over the next few weeks, always tense, always guarded. She barely spoke to me. She made piles of boxes in the hallway, muttering under her breath as she taped them shut. Once, about a week into it, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You really mean it?" she asked. No fake sweetness in her voice this time. Just pure anger. "You're really going to make me leave?" I looked at her. "Yes," I said. "I am." She let out a bitter laugh. "You're heartless." I shook my head. "No, I gave you 60 days. You gave me 0. You told me in a parking lot that I wasn't allowed to come back home." She flinched, just a little. I was trying to teach you responsibility, she said defensively. You can't expect someone to carry you forever. You used my biggest fear to feel powerful, I replied. You knew I had nowhere else to go. You knew this house was the last piece of mom I had that felt solid. And you dangled it over my head every time I didn't do what you wanted. That's not teaching. That's cruelty. Her mouth opened, then closed. Enjoy your little victory, she muttered. The house will fall apart without me. Maybe, I said honestly. Maybe it'll be messy for a while. Maybe I'll mess things up. But if it falls apart, at least it'll be my mess. She shook her head, grabbed her keys, and left. We spoke very little after that. I enrolled in the local community college instead of going straight to the big university out of town. It wasn't the dream I'd had on my wall since freshman year, but it meant I could stay in the house, work part-time, learn how to manage everything without being at the mercy of someone who thought my existence was a burden. My grandparents helped me learn about bills and budgets. Aunt Linda taught me how to cook things that didn't come from a box. The lawyer walked me through property taxes and homeowner responsibilities. It was a lot. It was scary, but it was mine. About a week before the 60 days were up, I found Melissa standing in the living room, staring at the mantel. On it, right in the center, was an old photo of my parents when they were young. Before me, before sickness, before Melissa. My mom was mid-laugh, head tilted back. My dad was looking at her like she hung the stars. When did you put this back up? She asked, not turning around. A few days ago, I said from the doorway, after you took down the picture of you and Dad at the beach. She let out a short, bitter laugh. Of course, replace me with a ghost. I stepped into the room. She was never supposed to be gone from here, I said quietly. You're the one who tried to erase her. She finally turned to face me. She was dead, she said bluntly. He was a wreck. The house was a wreck. I came in and made it livable. You have no idea what I dealt with. He wasn't some perfect saint like you're all pretending. I cleaned up his messes. I organized his life. I made that house a home again. Whose home? I asked softly. She hesitated. Mine, she said finally. Ours, his and mine. You were just part of the package. There it was. The truth I'd always felt but never heard out loud. I get it, I said. You never saw me as yours. You didn't have to, but you didn't have to punish me for existing either. I didn't punish you, she snapped. I set rules. I had standards. If you think that's punishment, threatening to throw someone out every time they disagree with you, I cut in. Using their fear of being homeless to get your way, that's not standards. That's control, Melissa. She clenched her jaw. You're not a parent, she said through her teeth. You don't get to tell me. I'm the kid you did it to, I said quietly. I get to say what it felt like. She looked away first. You'll understand one day, she muttered, when you have your own ungrateful kids. I almost laughed. Maybe, I said. But if I ever hear myself using my roof and my house to scare them into obedience, I'll know I became what I hated most. She flinched. For half a second, I thought she might apologize. Admit she'd gone too far. Say she was sorry for at least something. She didn't. She just picked up the last box on the floor, marched out to her car, shoved it into the trunk, and slammed it shut. The day she left for good was strangely quiet. No final monologue, no tears, no dramatic scene, just the steady rumble of her car pulling out of the driveway and disappearing down the street. I stood by the front window and watched until the car was gone. Then I exhaled a breath I felt like I'd been holding since the day she first walked through our door. The house felt still. Not empty, just peaceful. I walked slowly through each room. The living room where Mom used to dance with me with the radio turned up too loud. The kitchen where Dad had showed me the papers that changed everything. The hallway where Melissa had hissed, "You're lucky I even let you stay in this house." Now every step felt different. I wasn't walking around someone else's property, someone else's rules, someone else's power. I was at home. I went out onto the front porch, the same spot where Mom used to sit with her tea. The evening sky was streaked with orange and pink. Cars rolled by slowly on the street. Somewhere, a dog barked. I sat down on the top step, pulled my knees up, and wrapped my arms around them. In my head, I could hear her voice. This house has good bones, she'd always say. It's not perfect, but it's ours. And one day, it'll be yours. She'd been right. It had taken too much to get here. Grief, fear, years of casual cruelty. A parking lot showdown on the day I was supposed to be celebrating. But in the end, the promise she made to me in that dim bedroom came true. I had my home. Not because someone decided to be generous. Not because Melissa suddenly found kindness in her heart. Because my mom and my grandparents had planned ahead. Because my dad finally told me the truth. Because for once, I believed I deserved to stand my ground. Sometimes at night, when the house is quiet and it's just me and the hum of the refrigerator and the soft creaks of those old floorboards, I think about everything that happened. I think about Melissa's face in that parking lot when she realized she'd been threatening to throw me out of a house she never owned. Do I feel bad? A little. I'm not going to pretend I danced through the empty rooms celebrating that she's gone. I remember the times she did make dinner, the few moments she seemed almost human, the way she used to laugh with my dad before he got sick. She's not some cartoon villain. She's a real person with her own fears and insecurities and scars I'll probably never know about. But she also made choices. She chose to wield safety like a weapon. She chose to use my house as a threat instead of a comfort. She chose to tear down a grieving teenager instead of building her up. And when I stood there in my graduation gown with my diploma in one hand and the deed in the other, I realized I had a choice too. I could keep letting her rewrite my story, or I could finally write my own. If there's a lesson in all of this, I think it's this. Not everyone who has power over you will shout. Sometimes they're calm, smiling, reasonable. They talk about tough love and teaching you to be an adult while slowly convincing you that you're nothing without them. They'll tell you you're lucky to have what was supposed to be yours already. They'll treat basic respect like a favor you have to earn. They'll hold security in one hand and the threat of losing it in the other, and they'll make sure you see both. If you're in that place right now, scared of losing the only home, the only job, the only relationship you think you have, I won't lie to you and say it's easy to stand up. It's not. You'll shake, you'll second-guess yourself. You'll wonder if you're being cruel. You'll worry you're the problem. But there's a difference between revenge and justice. Revenge is about hurting someone simply because they hurt you. Justice is about restoring what was supposed to be right in the first place, about taking back what was always yours, about making sure someone who abused their power can't continue to do it forever. What I did that day felt like both. It felt like revenge to watch her face fall, to watch the control slip from her hands, to watch her walk away, humiliated in the exact space where she'd planned to humiliate me. But it also felt like justice, because that house was never hers, because the fear she put in me was built on a lie, because my mom worked too hard to give me a home for me to hand it over to someone who saw me as an extra piece of luggage. Now, when I unlock the front door after a class or a shift at work, I feel something I'd forgotten how to feel. Safe. The porch still leans, the floor still creaks, the kitchen window still looks streaky even right after I clean it. But when I sit on the steps with a mug of tea and look at the cracked sidewalk, the crooked mailbox, the old 2-story house with good bones, I know one thing for sure. This isn't her house. It's mine. And I'm never going to let anyone make me feel like a guest here again.